Ray Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Yes, it does. Another week, another day closer to the start of the NFL season. Who's excited for that?
I thought the season started. Hall of Fame game.
Man.
In Canton, the season in Canton, when Hall of Fame happens, the season is here. Because that was the
now, does it count that the game was rained out?
It still count.
Didn't finish?
They still count.
It counted a little bit, but this is like the third or fourth time it's to happen like that.
I can remember another time that happened.
Because it was the turf. Was one of them.
Bad field.
And
there was another one where there was lightning that wouldn't stop.
And they were just like, they should just do half. They should play a half. Just play a little quick half.
Well, hey, you know what they can do? If the Browns build a dome in Brook Park, they can just play the game there every year.
Look, see the way that works? No, as a matter of fact, you want to have a Hall of Fame game in December, January? We can do that too if you got a dome.
You know, the crazy thing about that is if they do build that dome, and it sounds like they're going to, and we're going to talk about that coming up on the show, there will be a Super Bowl in Cleveland. That trade has been made many times by the NFL.
That's crazy.
Build a dome in the northern climate. They put a Super Bowl in New York without a dome.
Outside Super Bowl.
And they did that to make sure they got a new stadium there.
Yeah,
They'll never do that again, though. It was cold. And
I don't think they'll do that again.
I think it snowed the very next day.
But it did. They got lucky the game up. But it wasn't a warm Super Bowl, that's for sure.
Yeah, so.
Anyhow, a lot to get to. Disappointing weekend for the Guardians. And I say disappointing weekend because they started the series, the 4-game series, with 2 wins against Baltimore. And then Saturday and Sunday rolled around and they laid a couple of eggs, although they did try to fight back in both of those games. They came up short, so they split with the Orioles. And it seems like the Twins and the Royals, who had bad competition this weekend, White Sox and Tigers, they just keep winning. So you can't put any distance between these two teams. And it's going to be a dogfight all the way through September.
I got a question.
Shoot.
If y'all play for the Chicago White Sox, how do you get up and go to work every day?
I don't. If they lose today, I don't know if they play today, either today or tomorrow.
They play today. They play Oakland today.
Okay. If they lose, that's an American League record for the longest losing streak. I believe. I think I read that yesterday.
Well, it's at 20 games right now.
Yeah, so 21, I think, is the longest losing streak in the American League.
That's nasty work.
When I was at OU, we won 7-4. We won 8-4. And we were this back before everybody didn't get. They had 96 bowls, right? We won 80. You didn't get all that.
So you were 500 and didn't get a bowl.
We was 8-4 and did not win no bowl, and we beat Minnesota at Minnesota.
And you didn't get a bid.
And we didn't get no bid.
So you must have lost in the MAC championship game.
We
didn't get there.
We didn't get there because it was we beat Marshall, and Marshall was in our division. Miami was in our division. So we beat Marshall the last game of the year, but they had a better record. So was Marshall actually ended up going, even though we won that game.
God, nobody came calling for a bowl.
And it was the year that Byron Leftwich got carried on his arms in
that
bowl game. So, yeah, I guess it worked out for the bowl game. I would have took them too. But the next year, our coaches got upgrades. All of them went to Wake Forest. They were part of the team that Jim Grove went to Wake Forest, and they eventually won the ACC while they were there in the 2000s.
Right.
And then we
you got all new staff,
and we won 1-10.
That quickly. Did you lose a lot of seniors?
No, we had the only new starter on defense was me.
Wow.
And I was a redshirt freshman. We had everybody back, and it was wild. Like, we just went 1-10. Like, we started off, we lost to West Virginia by a field goal, and we're like, okay, we're gonna be really good then.
Yeah.
Like, we went to Morgantown and lost by a field goal. We were great. Man, we came back and lost to Charlie Fry at the Rubber Bowl. Now we 0-2. And now it just went, it spiraled after that. Like,
it can get away quick,
it
man.
It spiraled, and you say, how do you play? How do you go to work?
Yeah.
When you start losing respect. Like, you be wanting to be you be trying to talk back.
There's a level of embarrassment, right?
Because you're taking these L's, and the coaching staff will be like, they came in one day, they're like, you guys, you don't have your socks the right size. I said, listen, notoriously, I think I ran the rest of the court. I said, you sitting here telling me about sock height, and we running a triple option on 3rd and 8. What are we doing? You need to come up with a way that we can throw the ball. It's a thing called the forward pass, coach. These guys were like, I said, but listen, after you, like, I came from McKinley. I had lost 3 games in my entire life since I was 13 years old.
Damn.
3. And we're here.
You handled that in September.
And that was done. I was like, man, we got the
Now, what was the coach's reaction when you said, I wouldn't worry about our socks, I'd worry about our play call?
You know what, Garrett Bush? You just take a hike. You get on. You keep running until I tell you to stop. And you see me after practice. I was like, man, hey, listen, hey, you work on them plays. What did you say? I ain't say nothing.
Oh, you were that guy.
I might, but I can't. Listen, I have to win.
How long did that staff last?
They fired the coordinator. Actually, shout out to he ended up getting fired, and it's tough to get fired at a MAC school. They ain't even paying attention to us.
The offensive coordinator or the head coach?
No, the offensive coordinator got fired. Then the defensive coordinator got fired. Then the head coach finally got fired. But the head coach lasted 4 years, right? So,
wow.
But
did he ever turn it around?
No, he actually got fired, and then he just went back to the military schools.
Yeah.
But the crazy part about
that option might work a little.
And then they even eventually had to get rid of it. Yeah. But I'm like, man, you know how bad you got to be to get fired in a MAC school? They don't even care. That's JV football. Just graduate people.
Yeah, that's it.
Come up with good human beings.
Go 500.
Go 500.
If you're an embarrassment, they might fire you.
They might fire you. You know how bad you got to be? Yeah, he got fired.
That's like running the wing tee. I mean, it's so archaic. Can
you imagine running that against a grown, like we're playing teams like we play Iowa State. Like they went to Ohio State and ran the option. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah, when you telegraph what you're going to do, you're halfway to the L. I mean, maybe more. On 3rd and 8, if there's no fear that you're going to throw the football,
they're running dive. You're running. I said, but I'm looking at it, and the coach is sitting there like, "Oh my gosh, who's this ever to your?" I said, "You're running dive, bro. You have nothing else. We have nothing."
Yikes. Yeah, that's a gimmick. If it works, ever. Some of the military academies recently have had success only because no one knows how to defend it because no one runs it.
I think the funny part about his whole story is knowing who your high school coach was. It seemed like you got better play calling in high school.
Oh, I'm sure everything about his high school experience was better.
I came there and we was wearing gray T-shirts. I said, where's the gear at? They're like, listen, son, you must not understand where you're at. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. Listen, I would have gave them their money back too, man. I was injured all the time. I see when people be talking about injury, I probably owe them money. Like I was, for real, like I was the highest recruit they had. I was coming off state championships. I was good. My first year was the best year I ever had. Yeah. After that, I tore ACLs, I tore PCLs, I did all that. I had some flashes in the pans against some big schools. They're like, listen, he plays well. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of hard to get up every single day. I was like, but I owe him money. It's all good.
Well, that's where the White Sox are. and Mike confirmed to me while we were talking about that indeed it would tie an American League record should they lose again. There's no spirit. You know, they say it's fun to come to the ballpark when you're winning every day, and it is, but it is hell when you're losing every day because there's no momentum, there's no motivation. It's rare that you see major leaguers cash in at bats because they're still fighting for personal dollars, but they can't even get up to come up with a good at bat here and there. I mean, they're just throwing that bats out on the table.
It's literally your mental health. It literally wears on because that is their profession. Can you imagine going to the office and you know that your company is sinking millions, flushing it down the drain. You're not going to meet revenue goals. You're not going to get any bonuses this year, and your boss is a jerk on top of that.
Yeah, they've had a real bad run here. They spent some money, but they've had a real bad run. And you look at what the Guardians have done with the payroll that they have, and it is really the antithesis of what's going on in Chicago. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about little Cavs today too, right?
Yeah, just a quick update on a report we saw over the weekend about a potential reunion between the Cavs and someone who helped them in the playoffs last season. But we're going to start with a different rumor after a quick word from FanDuel. You guys know I love sports. I love them so much I never want the sports to stop sportsing. But as the summer gets deeper and deeper, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports just aren't sportsing like I want them to, but FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and the ultimate Cleveland sports show. And I'm curious, guys, if FanDuel was to put odds on what team Brandon Aiyuk will suit up for in 2024, where the Cleveland Browns would land on that scale, because over the weekend, for about the 75th time this offseason, the Browns have officially been linked to Brandon Aiyuk in some sort of trade rumor. This latest report, comes from Cam Marino, who is an NFL draft insider, used to work for USA Today, who tweeted out, the Patriots and Browns are the front runners in trade discussions for 49er star wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. Both teams offering more than $30 million per year. The Steelers also in the mix, but they should come down to the Patriots and the Browns. Aiyuk was unable to come to a contract extension thus far with the San Francisco 49ers. We know a few weeks ago the Browns and Amari Cooper came to a reworked deal to guarantee his total salary for the 2024 season. So are you guys surprised the Browns are still in the mix, according to this report, for Brandon Aiyuk, knowing the now certainty they have among their current wide receiver core?
It's a little confusing to me because I don't see it. Like, usually I'm the project stockpile guy. Usually I get a ledger and an email and notifying me that there's ability to pick up.
Because you are the commissioner of Project Stockpile.
Yes.
Wait, what don't you see? That they actually are interested, or that they actually should be interested?
Well, it's like this thing is kind of dragged on a little bit, and it just seems like a move that the Browns, it's kind of late in the game. Like, it's kind of like, if I was the Browns looking at it, I'm like, all right, well, listen, obviously we don't want to spend that much money on Amari Cooper. We only gave him the $5 more million, right? So obviously we don't want that much money allocated to the receiver group. Now, it may be that they're thinking like, well, maybe Brandon Aiyuk is different because he's younger, he's more, I guess he's a little more explosive, and he can grow with the core a little more, and he can get a little bit younger at that position with him and Jerry Jeudy. However, I would be very apprehensive to go into a season in which Deshaun Watson has not really, Jerry Jeudy just practiced for the first time, like a little bit, like yesterday on Sunday.
There's no chemistry yet.
There's none. Then you're talking about he only played a few games with Elijah Moore, and obviously you talk about Amari Cooper, like he doesn't have that much chemistry with them. Some people argue, hey, are we gonna get the same David Njoku that we got with Flacco?
Sure,
like because he's a different type of style. So
it was his best year.
It was his best year under him. So now you go say, all right, well, no, we don't need Amari Cooper because I don't see how you get him without giving up Amari Cooper. And say, all right, we'll bring Brandon Aiyuk off the street with a brand new offense. And not to mention, you got a brand new offensive coordinator. You got a brand new, tight ends coaches, running backs coaches. There's a bunch of different moving parts. And I'm like, can you expect the Browns to hit the ground running with the schedule that they have and still add a major piece like that?
Yeah, with basically a month for he and Deshaun to get on the same page.
If they did it, I wouldn't be salty, Earl, because I'm like, okay, well, they can eventually figure it out. But it would be a very tough sell for me to say that they're going to be hitting on all cylinders come Cowboys.
Earl, let me ask you a question before you dive in here. Is it an assumption for you that to make this deal, you'd have to give up Amari Cooper?
No,
because you made it sound like, well, obviously they would have to. If that's part of this conversation, I don't even pick up the phone.
I think before I dive into it, I think the first wide receiver that came to my mind would be Elijah Moore, and then maybe an offensive lineman. Because
I think their interest is in other positions.
I'm thinking the way I'm looking at it, and I watched some things on NFL Network over the weekend about San Francisco. They're gearing up to pay Brock Purdy next year, right? We done seen quarterback after quarterback reset the market. They've already committed to keeping Trent Williams a part of this team. Yep. Debo got money. Christian McCaffrey got money. And so they might be looking at this, okay, how can I put myself in a position to where I can possibly get another playmaker with some potential that I don't have to pay top dollar to?
Sure.
Even if Elijah Moore performs this year, he's not getting Brandon Aiyuk money. And so I'm trying to put myself in the mind of the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, what else do you throw it in there? Because they're not doing it straight up.
No, they're not doing it straight up. I don't know what I would throw in there, but to dive into what G had to say, I just think these are the politics of the NFL when a player is trying to get paid. I think the Browns are kind of being used as a pawn in this entire game. Brandon Aiyuk is trying to get paid, and more than likely, he probably won't leave the San Francisco 49ers. Now, with that being said, like, what I welcome a trade for Brandon Aiyuk, of course. Who wouldn't want to add more playmakers? But there's always another side to the coin when it comes to everything. G laid it out perfectly, in my opinion. You already got a brand new offense, brand new offensive coordinator. Due to everybody missing time, there's no real chemistry with the impact playmakers that Deshaun Watson is going to be throwing the football to. Now you're talking about bringing a guy in here this late into training camp with his season, according to 3 days, 3 days from today. 33 days from today, the NFL season starts. Okay, so you're talking about trying to implement a guy into a system 33 days, 37 days for the Browns before kickoff and expect it to hit the ground running. It just really don't make sense at this point. I think if there was really any truth to this, or if there was things that could develop, it would have happened earlier in the offseason. And so I just think this is a situation to where the Browns are just being used as a pawn as Brandon Aiyuk seeks to get paid.
Yeah, he's a top-tier player. There's no question about that. There's 10 to 12 teams that would love to have him in their wide receiver arsenal. But to me, you have to ask yourself this question. What is the price, and who are the other suitors? Is New England a serious contender for him? They're not one player away.
At all.
Pittsburgh, I think, would be serious.
Well, there are a number of other teams that I haven't mentioned yet that would be serious contenders to add another receiver. They might be a team that they feel they're on the cusp of the playoffs, or that they're on the cusp of a playoff run. That would be the Browns. And this player might be the guy that put you over the top. Could Brandon Aiyuk help this offense? Unquestionably, he could. As for the chemistry part, it's very interesting, G. Who does Deshaun Watson have chemistry with?
Amari.
Amari?
I
don't even know he has it with Amari.
I feel like it's yet to be seen. He's played too few games. I don't know who his favorite receiver is.
I know, but typically when we saw Joe Flacco for fewer games than we've seen Deshaun Watson in a Browns uniform.
But it was immediate.
It was boom, you blinked and you're like, oh, there's his safety blanket, David Njoku.
He likes that right there.
And it was instant and it was immediate, and that's partly because of the veteran quarterback that he was. He got there, he looked around, and he said, okay, what are my options? I've got Amari Cooper and I've got David Njoku. If Amari's covered, Njoku's getting the football. And they both racked up numbers. Their best numbers in a Browns uniform for both, if I'm not mistaken. And think about it. They did it with 5 quarterbacks, and only a quarter of the season did they have Joe Flacco. Or maybe a third of the season.
I liked, and the reason why people like Flacco, like people say, he didn't play, there's this debate thing. Shout out to the Kool-Aid Mafia and the Flaccavelli out there, man. I still excited to go back and watch some of these games. Some of them games he
turned it up.
He turned it up. One of the things that why people believe that he played so well, or it looks like that way, is because that's the way that other quarterbacks play. Other quarterbacks play like this. How many times do you see on other teams, star quarterback, star receiver, and they just wear you out?
All the time.
They're like, oh, I'm going to throw to him 12 times.
Look at Mahomes and Kelsey.
I'm going to wear, I'm not going to, all this. It takes a very rare quarterback. Like, there's only a few guys, like a Peyton Manning, where they can spread the ball. Not a Peyton Manning, I'm sorry, Tom Brady. That'll spray the ball to different parts. But for the most part, all the great quarterbacks, they hitting people. Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning, Steve Young, and Joe Montana with Jerry Rice.
Right.
If they're not Megatron, I got one guy and he's better than them, I'm giving him the ball. So we haven't seen that a little bit with Deshaun Watson. It's been more this guy. I'm anxious to see who develops, because I do think that there's going to be one guy who develops in the new system.
And who knows? Because he doesn't have that security blanket right now, maybe this is the guy. And maybe it can develop in 37 days. The clock is ticking. I just don't know what to make of the reports. I really don't. Oftentimes, when you get 2 teams that are mentioned, it's coming from the team that's trading the player.
Or the agent.
And if that's the case, and it's just the Patriots, I have to ask, are the Patriots really a serious suitor? That tells me that they might have already identified that the Browns are really the team that wants him. But remember what the front office always tells us. They love the wide receiver room. I don't know how you wouldn't be interested in a player like this, but you got to be very careful. You can't overpay. And if it includes Amari Cooper, you're swapping players, and instead of drastically improving your room, you're just trading one A+ or A receiver for another B+ receiver only because he's got better receivers on his team in Brandon Aiyuk.
And when you look at Andrew Berry's track record, drafting receivers, we have a question. But
No, we don't have a question. It's awful.
But I'm just saying, I guess, my point is.
I mean, there's no question.
Okay, that's not the point. Just
right.
Let me get to the point.
He can't draft them.
Oh, sure. I don't disagree for the record.
Right.
But he has made, not just in the receiver room, but across this roster, a lot of very good trades for the right price. We look back at the Amari Cooper deal. Still, he got Za'Darius Smith for essentially nothing. Traded 2 late-round picks for Jerry Jeudy.
He also brought in Elijah Moore, though.
Which, if Elijah Moore pans out, he gave up a sack, traded 30 picks. Like that's not a dead.
I mean, we've seen him for a season.
My point is, Jay. My point is, we never hear about these trades before they happen. Andrew Berry moves in silence when he makes these trades. The fact that they've been rumored now like 7 different times with Brandon Aiyuk makes me feel this is not necessarily coming from the front office whatsoever for the Browns.
Oh, it's not coming
and being
from them.
back-channeled through whether it's agents, to Earl's point earlier. I kind of agree. They feel like pawns in this whole situation. Like I don't
Would you
think
do
any
it?
of this. If you get Brandon Aiyuk, absolutely, you know what? Yeah, of course, 100 of 100 times.
But, I mean, it depends on what you're giving up.
If you get a chance to get Brandon Aiyuk.
All right. Well,
you're not saying you whatever the cost is.
Let me throw it out there. So I like specifics. I'm a numbers guy. Hey, what's up? Y'all trying to give up a 2nd-round pick?
A 2nd-round pick for Brandon Aiyuk?
Yeah,
yes.
2nd round.
Yeah.
I would do a 2nd-round pick.
You do a 2nd. Would you do a 2nd and a 3rd?
No, I'd do a 2nd and a player.
But if I can get away with a 3rd and a player.
Well, of course you would try that, but I don't think. Guys, Brandon Aiyuk, he is a legitimate receiver threat.
Okay.
Legitimate. He's not Elijah
He was an
Moore.
All-Pro last year.
Yes.
This is what I'm
Yes.
saying. The Browns have a good situation. You probably got the best guard combination in football with Bitonio and Wyatt Teller.
Right.
But let's be realistic.
They're aging.
Let's be realistic. Joe Bitonio is already at the point to where he's taking it year for year. It's a very realistic chance that if the Browns reach the pinnacle this year, Joe Bitonio will retire at the end of the year. Okay? You've talked about the contract situation with Wyatt Teller. You know that you got 2 young guards in Zach Zinter and Luke Whippler behind these dudes. So if I can trade a 3rd-round pick and a starter, I think that's enough to get it done. You're getting somebody that can protect Brock Purdy this year, maybe next year, whoever knows. And then you get a 3rd-round pick. You do what you want with it. We know that we getting Brandon Aiyuk, but we still got to pay him.
No, absolutely.
I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up. No, when I'm doing trades at this dead late, I want to fleece you. I'm not trying to give up no starters. I want. If you can't.
But you're getting a starter.
You're getting a starter. I would rather give up compensation. The Browns always drafted in the 2nd round.
I know, but do you dare? You can't give up a 1st.
No. I would give them a 2nd and a 4th.
I feel like you can't give up a 1st because
Mike.
2nd and 4th and take it and leave.
No, we've been without a 1st for too long.
Well, here's the thing.
Extend that streak.
Tackle is an uncertainty past this year. Wide receiver and edge rusher opposite of Myles Garrett. To me, just looking ahead, I think one of those 3 positions could be your 1st-round pick next year. Tackle, wide receiver, or edge rusher opposite of Myles.
Yeah, I just want to see how this year goes before I even start thinking how we're going to allocate assets in the future because
I'm
we just
adding
don't
on to your point. You don't trade the 1st-round pick, you're going to need it.
No, I agree with that. If this trade involves the 1st-round pick, I would not take the phone call.
I agree. The extension price is too much for the 1st-round pick. And we're going to run through
What are the fans saying?
Well, I'm going to get to that in 1 sec. One question for you guys before we move on to these fan-submitted trade proposals for Brandon Aiyuk. We got a bunch of these. Thank you for submitting them. Do you buy the report that the Browns are genuinely interested, though?
I do.
Yes or no? You do buy it?
I buy that, yeah.
G, do you buy the fact
because there's
that
too
the
much
Browns are
smoke
genuinely
around it.
I think they're at the due diligence level. I think the name has been floated. I don't know if they be an aggressor, like, hey, let me get Brandon out tomorrow. Like, I think they playing it like if we get him, like he's the one that don't want to play for y'all. he don't want to play for you. Like, you got to work with us. Like, we got our receiver. Hey, like you said, we like our receiving room.
I think
I didn't say that.
Andrew Berry. I mean, he ain't no fool. Of course, he's interested, but I don't think the Browns is actively trying to construct a package to send to San Francisco to try to get Brandon Aiyuk. No, I don't think that.
Especially when they added Judy. I mean, I think they got the guy that they think they needed to improve their room enough to win a Super Bowl.
But sometimes guys come available that wasn't available at
that's true.
time. And if you got the opportunity to get another weapon and another playmaker,
that's true.
You got to do that as well.
Earl, that's a fair point.
I'm going to ask you a question, then you go on to what you want to do. If they do get Aiyuk and they don't have to give up Amari Cooper, does that put the Browns as the prohibitive favor in the AFC North?
I just could never say prohibitive in this division. This division is so tough.
Anything over 50%? Do you have a 50%
No, because
confidence?
there's three teams that could legitimately win it. So if you look at the way things were last year and the way things come into this year, if you just split that and say Cincinnati's got 33%, Cleveland's got 33%, and Baltimore's got 33%, you're not even factoring in Pittsburgh. Now, I don't think that they are at that level. But if you're going to give Cleveland a 50%, that means there's less than 50% left to be split between Cincinnati and Baltimore, and underestimate them at your own peril.
I agree with that, but if you put it's hard to say that, but if you say I got Aiyuk, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, and whatever Nick Chubb comes back looking like, that skill set.
But what was our biggest question mark today about the season is what?
Well, that's the quarterback, of course.
Okay, so even if you add another wide receiver, the biggest question mark tomorrow will still be
if he can't play with them dudes,
Oh, you're right. I agree.
If you can't get, we can put you back there and just check it down, Jay.
I agree.
Like that.
Well, I don't agree with that part. My 59-year-old ass isn't doing anything out there. But I will say, like, I know it would get you to the idea that, oh, wow, they would be the favorite to win the division. But the fact of the matter is, Baltimore and Cincinnati aren't going away.
Yeah.
And I just think that these three teams have a puncher's chance to win the division, and I would also say they all three have to be in the conversation to win the Super Bowl. To go to the Super Bowl. The conversation.
Well, that means McNuggets, like, if they got to make that calculation then, because if they're like, we already got a good chance at 33% to win a division,
right?
Do we go all in and just,
go up to 40%?
To go up to 42%?
Yeah.
That's where I was going with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's get to some of these fan-submitted trade proposals for Brandon Aiyuk. We put this out on Twitter yesterday. We got over 30 responses. I got about 6 or 7 I picked out. A lot of varying answers, but a lot of similar ones, so I tried to divvy them up a little bit. The first one we have comes from Pittsburgh Sucks 75. Teller, a first and a third. Who says no?
The Browns ain't. Listen, I'm disconnecting a phone line. Give me that. What are you doing? Don't be doing all that much. First, third, and Teller.
That's nuts.
That's too much. Second one comes from your average Browns fan. Given we have to extend Aiyuk probably, Elijah Moore, a 2025 second and third. So a second, third, and Elijah Moore.
Yeah, now
Who
we're
says
talking.
No?
I think San Francisco would say no. But I would do that.
Second and third, yeah, John Lynch hanging up on you.
Yeah, John Lynch is smart now. John Lynch is bright.
Like I said, that's a little bit too much. I want to give up the fourth. I don't like the third. I'm going to do 2-4 and Elijah Moore.
2-4 Elijah Moore.
I like that. It has a ring. They'll say no though.
Well, I would do either one of those. Yeah. I would do the 2 and 4 with Elijah.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to be San Francisco's language. I don't.
All right, next one comes from our guy Xavier P. Greg Newsome, since we refused to play him outside, and a third-round pick. So Newsome and a third for Aiyuk. Who says no to that deal?
I would do that.
Refuse to play him outside. I mean, he can't.
It's not that we refuse to play him outside.
He can't get out there.
He's not good enough to play outside.
Man, this is tough because I like the advantage of having Greg Newsome, but I'm like, how much is Newsome better than Cam Mitchell? And it's a third.
What is San Francisco's greatest area of need? I have to say, I look at them as one of the most, if not the most well-balanced roster in the NFL.
They complete.
I don't know where they're screaming we're weak here.
Interior offensive line, they do have a bit of a need. Trent Williams is the best left tackle in football.
Yeah,
one of
and
the
I
two
know
or three
he's
best.
got long in the tooth
The
here.
rest of their offensive line is not elite.
Okay.
It's solid, not
So
elite.
maybe, and I think you were going there, maybe a Teller or a Batonio.
What if they want Zinner?
Hell no.
I don't think so
No.
because you got to stay young.
No, hell no.
What if they
young.
want?
No.
I'm just listen. I'm over here.
I'm not giving up none of my young cats that's on the rookie contract.
I'm the dude you get on the phone with. I'm naming names. I want names.
Yeah.
Hey, Zinner, I like him. Zinner, and give me Zinner in a 3.
I do not get. I just drafted Zinner. No.
G. Bush, before we go on with
And
any
they
of
like
these,
him.
this is the same. And we're talking to Earl here. Earl is the stringiest trader of all time. Earl would not. When we were doing fake Aaron Donald trades last year, Earl came on this very program and said he wouldn't give up more than Donovan Peoples-Jones and a 4th for Aaron Donald.
That's
If
wild.
they wanted more.
That's wild.
He was hanging up the phone. So just when Earl's saying I'm not trading Zach Zinner for an all-pro receiver, just keep in mind he's been consistent with this. Earl stands on business since day one. He ain't giving up his young guys. For Aaron Donald, for Brandon Aiyuk, don't you dare call about Luke Whippler.
So you're the guy when we're playing Monopoly, huh?
No.
You're the dude
So,
that don't know.
Yeah, he's fleecing.
My trade. I was trying to fleece the Rams. Like I be trying to. That's what you're supposed to
Yeah,
do.
but you're talking about the greatest player perhaps ever to play that position.
It-
and you're going to offer him Donovan Peoples-Jones in a 4th?
I
But
think
see,
he's out
here's
the
the
league
thing.
too.
Here's the thing. Sometimes, man, you got to gauge people. You got to know how to talk to them. You got to try to, convince them. Like, hey, Aaron
you know
Donald
what?
is close to retirement, right? You don't want to have to keep paying that salary. You don't even know if he's committed to your team long term.
No, you don't.
Let
But
me get
if
that
you're
off
gonna
your
give 'em
hands.
up, you're gonna get a lot.
I'm trying to put some toxic thoughts into their mind to make them say, you know what? The hell with Aaron Donald.
He would have
Let
heard
me do this.
he would have heard a dial tone by the time he got Jones out of his mouth.
Hello.
Donovan People. Hello?
Hello.
Rams? Hello?
Trying to call back like, hey.
Hey, you didn't even let me finish. I was from.
That's crazy. Nah, yeah.
This number's been blocked.
But I just don't. No, Andrew Berry will not give up because he understands. Listen, he's building this team out for this team to be competitive for a long period of time.
But what
He's
if he
been-
ain't no good?
He's been saying the same thing for years.
What if
and
he
years.
don't? What if Zinner don't turn out to be good?
We don't know that. He has not gotten his opportunities yet.
I know, but I know what Brandon Aiyuk is looking at him. I'm looking at him in the face.
It doesn't matter. San Francisco isn't going to do that anyhow.
Yeah, they don't want that.
They're not taking an unproven commodity for a all-pro wide receiver. They're not going to do it.
That's
go ahead and-
that's why I'm more of. I'd rather take the cash. I don't want to take the. I know what the players are. I'm ready to do draft picks. But that Newsome trade though,
So so you.
I would think about it.
I would think about
you
that one
talking
real hard.
2024 draft picks, right? You're not giving up the first, so you willing
No.
to part with a 2nd through a 7th.
Yes.
We got 3 more.
Yes.
4 more, excuse me.
You're in win it now mode.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah,
doing
chips
that.
are all in.
You're all in.
Next one comes from @FatBoySeason Inc.
But
Cooper and a 3rd or 4th. Worst case, a 2nd. Ayuk is younger, but the Browns have to pay him, so that negates some of the leverage of him being younger. Got to give up Coop, so San Francisco is a true number 1 for 2024 to let Debo be Debo.
Yeah, no.
I think we're all out on anyone thing with Cooper, right?
Yeah. No, you're just swapping really good receivers.
Yeah.
And I know you're getting a younger receiver and perhaps a better right now receiver, but
that don't move you over the top.
I don't
like I can
think it
understand if it
does.
was Justin Jefferson.
Maybe I'm biased, but I don't think Brandon Aiyuk is better right now. I think
You don't?
No.
But let me ask you, G. Bush, right now, age and everything considered, you got Brandon Aiyuk standing there and you got Amari Cooper standing there, and you can have whichever one you want. Who you taking?
Dang. I'm gonna say this. I done seen Amari Cooper do it with nobodies, and backups and PJ Walker, bro. To be able to put them.
Isn't youth
Yeah.
the deciding factor here?
Yeah, yeah.
Because when you look at the numbers, Aiyuk has the edge in everything.
Right. A couple of them.
And he's got a decided edge in age.
Yes.
So for me, these two guys are basically the same guy.
same
If you looked
dude.
at their blind stats and you didn't know who they were,
Same dude.
they're the same guy last year. Now, granted, Aiyuk had a much better quarterback throwing to him, but also he wasn't the number 1 option in that offense last year.
No. And plus he did that with. Think about it. He had Christian McCaffrey.
Yes.
He got Kittle. He got Debo Samuel. on the
Samuel,
other-
he's got some players in that offense.
And so I'm gonna just say this. I would ride with Amari Cooper just for this. Like I just know. Like if I was playing and I was playing against Amari Cooper, that's the dude I can envision on Super Bowl Sunday just carving people up and be like,
I could too.
Is he that good?
Gee, I could too.
I can just imagine him showing up and being unstoppable in the Super Bowl and I don't know, I've always had, like, if I envision the Browns making it somewhere, right? And the Browns getting to a certain place, I envision that it's Amari Cooper that just makes these plays down the stretch, that steps up. And it's just like, wow, I can't believe this guy is doing this. And I didn't see Brandon Aiyuk in the Super Bowl a couple times.
He's just been so consistently good for so damn long. This is a dude who got 2 or 3 200-yard receiving games under his belt. He had a 3-touchdown game against Philadelphia when he was in Dallas. Like, he's just a constant pro. He's a veteran leader, a route running assassin. He can still point the football. He doesn't have, like, elite speed. We still got enough speed to take the top off the defense. Yeah, it's not like we don't see Amari going downfield for 20, 30
yards. I'm with you. Look, I started this by saying I'm just not trading Amari Cooper for Brandon Aiyuk. I think what took us down this road is it probably is a natural player that San Francisco would be interested in if they wanted to keep their wide receiver core as strong as it is. They would want Amari Cooper. I just don't know that I would do it.
Tyvis alluded to the system that they run in San Francisco, and what Amari does well, you kind of like plug and play. He already fits what Shanahan wants to do.
Sure.
I'm not trying to get I can see if they traded and Amari Cooper went there, San Francisco would mess around and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
Not at our expense. I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, like no, we get it Aiyuk without something else. Now we talking. Now I would go on a limb and say, oh, listen, forget the Baltimore Ravens. You give me 3 of them dudes, stop. Come on now.
Yeah, Aiyuk and Cooper in the same offense would be tough because you're going to have to pick your poison as a defensive coordinator who you're going to try to stop.
Can you imagine them running lanes? You could just run the ball like that.
Well, that's in part why San Francisco is the
right
perfect.
Now,
yes, that's why they're the perfect system right now. They've got a cheap quarterback,
very cheap,
who can make the throws outside the numbers, and he's got 2 threats on both sides. He's got threats on both sides. What does that do? Stretch, and lanes are open for Christian McCaffrey.
This last year is going to be that cheap.
What's that?
This is the last year.
You're right. That's why if you're San Francisco, you're looking the chances of winning a Super Bowl when you have a rookie quarterback who plays at an elite level is as good as you're going to get. Seattle never came close to threatening for a Super Bowl once that Russell Wilson got off that rookie deal. Mm-hmm. They had to pay everybody, and they found out they had to let a lot of those Legion of Boomers and that defensive team that was so stout, they had to let those guys go because they had to pay their quarterback. San Francisco, you talk about the Browns being in mode to win it now. San Francisco knows John Lynch is not a dummy. He knows you're going to add a lot of zeros to that paycheck for the quarterback. And when you do that, you have less money to spread around elsewhere. He's got to win. He wants it this year because there's no guarantees once you pay the quarterback.
Couple more trades to run through. We'll do this one quick because we've already mentioned it, but our guy Eddie said you trade an upcoming first and a mid-round pick for Aiyuk. You guys are all out on first-round picks, as we said earlier.
I am, and also because of what I just mentioned, San Francisco's not in a build for 2 or 3 years down the road mode. They may have a need that they've defined. They want to improve the weakest link of their team right now this year. I don't think a first-round pick does much for them. They got to win now.
To be honest with you, Amari Cooper beat the 49ers by himself, low-key, last year. There's nobody else playing.
Had his DBs grabbing their ankles.
Like, this dude, Amari Cooper, won that game by himself.
And John Lynch was in attendance.
Yes, he was. I can't do it. I'm sorry. Can't do that. Yeah. Go ahead.
And the last one comes from Life 2369. Jack Conklin and a first. So we're out on a first. What would you put with Conklin that you'd feel comfortable putting together as a proposal for Brandon Aiyuk? Conklin and what?
A third or a fourth?
Third.
Yep.
Or Elijah Moore. Because at some point you got a glut of these receivers. Yeah. What are you going to do with all of them? You got to offload one of them.
I'll give him Conklin. I'll give him that third and a receiver.
Oh, you do a pick and
no,
Elijah Moore.
That's too much.
That's a lot.
That's too much.
But here's what I'm going to
I would do Conklin and Elijah Moore.
What they're going to rebuttal and retort is, we ain't even seen Jack Conklin in the whole year. He ain't even been on the field with you. Can he pass a physical?
Well, they would all be Pending on it.
I'm like, nah, he's been injured. I don't know if he's going to be ready to game one. I want something else.
Well, they poke and prod him, though.
Yeah.
They get their look at him.
I would push, because of his injury history, I would push. I want a player and a pick to kind of sweeten the deal for me.
All right. For the record, I would do Conklin and Elijah Moore.
Cool.
I
think we're at a
can't do two
consensus.
players.
No first, no Cooper.
I'm not doing
You like your army man. Give me my army man. You know, the little.
If I'm getting two, I'm giving. If I'm giving two, I'm getting two.
I'm like, but this is a general and it's a bigger. This guy kills more people, Earl.
I do Conklin in the third.
I need 5 privates.
Five for 5.
Listen, injuries is real, man. We seen a lot of players on every single team get hurt. The Browns had 27% of their cap on IR at the end of the season. Like, you talk about project stockpile, right? I'm just trying to have a more realistic mindset of, okay, as many weapons as you can deploy, like, make sure you can obtain those, because players do get hurt. And, like, trading Conklin, I'm not opposed to that, but this is the last year he got any guaranteed money on his deal or something like that, right? The Browns was in a situation last year to where they was out without their top 3 tackles at one point during the season. And if this is such a make-or-break year for Deshaun Watson, then you want to make sure that you got all hands on deck and that offensive line is intact. Now, I'm saying that, like, we're saying, okay, if I was to offer anybody, it'd probably be one of the guards, but I'm only saying that because of the depth of the offensive line and what they've done in the draft the last 2 years.
Right.
But at the end of the day, this is just all talk that ain't gonna never amount to nothing.
Okay, well, we'll see.
We're going to see.
I tend to think you're right. But we'll find out. And I'd be stunned if he ends up with the Patriots. What does that do for the Patriots?
Like, Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry told y'all time and time again, they love their wide receiver room.
Ad nauseum, they've told us that.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of loving some Browns players, there was some crazy high praise for one rookie. We're going to tell you about that in a sec, after a reminder that this next segment is brought to us by our sponsor, BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest, big or small. Certain things can really start to get to you, and it's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased in your life. So today, I want to tell you guys how I feel about trying to come up with Brandon Aiyuk trades. It's been on my mind. It's weighing heavily, and you can never know what is appropriate value, what the right return is. Would San Francisco say yes? Would Cleveland say yes? And that takes a toll. So sometimes I go to my therapist to talk about different ways to let that mindset out. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports teams, and it's important to get those things off your chest every once in a while. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. So visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp. HELP.com/lockedon. So, guys, Browns had a practice yesterday, and after practice, Za'Darius Smith was asked about rookie Mike Hall Jr., their second-round pick out of Ohio State. And the praise that Za'Darius Smith had for the rookie, it's pretty damn high. This is what Za'Darius Smith said in regards to Mike Hall Jr. Quote, "He's different. He reminds me of Aaron Donald a little bit. Aaron Donald is arguably the best defensive tackle in the history of football. One of the best defensive players ever in football.
That's true.
What are the chances Mike Hall Jr. could live up to 50% of Aaron Donald, which would be a great, great, great draft pick if he could even get to that level of production?" Earl?
Well, I mean, when I heard that, that's pretty high praise. And Za'Darius Smith is a veteran who's been around and seen a lot of football. I can see why he say he kind of reminds him of Aaron Donald. He has that build. You know, Aaron Donald he wasn't like the biggest dude, but he was strong, he was powerful, and he was fast on the interior. And that's what Mike Hall was drafted to be, an interior rusher. You know, I think the question in the rundown was, what's a realistic expectation for Mike Hall this year? I think a realistic expectation for him is to be an impactful and productive rotational player on that defensive line. And if he can come out of his rookie season having a true impact on the outcome of football games, then he did his job. And if he can continue to build on that throughout his career, put in the work, you know, have some good luck, don't have to worry about the injury bug, etc., then who knows how this thing can turn out with him having an Aaron Donald type career. But, you know, when he said that, I knew it would raise eyebrows. But I think it's easy to look at Mike Hall, his statue, how he's built. You the position he plays, how he plays that position, and say, okay, yeah, this is pretty similar to Aaron Donald, who kind of played the same way.
Man,
well, the one thing that he said that you didn't put up there was, I hope he doesn't see this, something along those terms. Well,
he didn't want him getting a big head.
Yeah, guess what? Or he didn't want him to have to live up to that pressure. So I hope he doesn't see this. You can take that both ways. I don't want him to get big-headed, or I hope he doesn't realize the kind of bullseye I just put on his back. You can compare people to players, but when you go overboard, that tag sticks with you forever. And here's an example. I was working in Tampa, Florida when the Devil Rays, because that was their name then, drafted Rocco Baldelli. I think he was the first player ever drafted from the state of Rhode Island. And I remember when I saw Rocco Baldelli at spring training, they actually brought him in to take BP because, the draft is midseason, and they brought him in June after the draft to take BP at Tropicana Field. And I'm looking at this guy going, oh my God. If you're going to go in the lab and build a prototypical baseball player, particularly an outfielder, like this is the guy you come out with. And we watched him take back batting practice, and it was prodigious. He was, hitting the top of the dome at Tropicana Field. And I can't remember who did this to this poor kid, but because he was long and lanky and could cover a lot of ground deceptively, somebody in the media in Tampa said, he's a young Joe DiMaggio. And I thought,
come on, man.
Wow.
That's crazy.
We skipped right over Ken Griffey. We went right to Joe DiMaggio, like arguably the best to ever do it. And when you look at them, there are, you would say, okay, like physically, if I never saw either one of them play baseball, I would say, yeah, they kind of resemble one another. And the other thing was, and this was a natural comparison, they were both Italian. And I think that was where it probably came from.
Yeah.
And it just hit me the wrong way. And I thought, man, this kid is 18 years old. He is brimming with it. It just fell off his body when he walked onto the field. You could tell he had that much talent. Now, he in truth ended up being an okay player. He suffered, he's the Twins manager now. He suffered from some form of muscular dystrophy or something. He had a muscle disease, and he got fatigued, and they were running tests, and they couldn't figure it out. And he never, obviously, amounted to Joe DiMaggio, but he was not even a perennial all-star. I don't even know if he ever even made an all-star team. But he did look at the part. Don't do that to a young man. Don't do that. There are so many other players that you could have named and said, hey, he kind of reminds me of that. Now, he did say, reminds me of Aaron Donald a little bit. But now this name, Mike Hall Jr.'s name is going to be pegged to Aaron Donald in the minds of Browns fans forever. And he might end up being a really good player. I think he is, by the way. Mm-hmm. I thought he was a steal at 54 or wherever we got him. I thought he was a steal. I loved him at Ohio State. I think he's got great potential to be a really good NFL player. But please let's pump the brakes on any kind of Aaron Donald comparison. I hope I'm wrong. But I'll make that comparison after I see him play and dominate in the league for 2 years.
Yeah.
Not a couple weeks in training camp.
So I sometimes, hyperbole, I just want to give a context to, because, when I watch, my dad used to grow up and say, watch your position. So growing up being a defensive lineman, I've watched that my eye naturally goes up front because that's where you learn to watch film and you do different things. So let me just give you a little homework and a little stuff on Aaron Donald and why it is blasphemous to be saying anybody, I don't care if you got dudes in the league that's Pro Bowlers now, is blasphemous compared to Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is the only interior defensive lineman besides John Randall with over 100 sacks. He has 111. John Randall, who's a Hall of Famer, has about 135 or so, and he was a freak of nature himself, undersized defensive tackle. He's a 3 times Defensive Player of the Year. 3. Myles Garrett got 1, and you saw how hard it was for him to get 1.
That's true.
He has 3 of those things. He is a freak of nature. He is strong. Is the biggest 3 techniques in nose tackles. He's as fast in a straight line quickness just as quick as guys like Myles Garrett. He plays the run. He's a tactician. He creates his own moves inside. When you're playing defensive tackle, and he weighs pretty much. Aaron Donald probably weighs less than I do, and I would be small for a defensive tackle. This man was one of the greatest pass rushers, and not only pass rushers, he destroyed your run game as well. He destroyed it. You can't block him. It's 2 guys. He won the Super Bowl. Not a corner, not a receiver, not a quarterback.
Is he the best ever to play it?
Yes. Warren Sapp said he's the best. If Warren Sapp says you're the best, that means you're the best. He revolutionized it. He's the best defensive tackle ever to put the jersey on, and he probably could get you 8 sacks right now. He just don't want to play no more. He don't want to put his body through it. So, no, Mike Hall Jr. is not Aaron Donald. But I will say this. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. What Za'Darius Smith was trying to say was he has some of the same traits. He has some of the same. I see the get off. It reminds me of that. I saw the slight build, but the more explosive defensive tackles.
Yeah.
I see what that is. I like the fact that he's a guy that has that quick twitch, that burst, that he don't have to beat you with just being super strong. He can just beat you up the field and beat you with speed, and it looks really good because they're telling him to do exactly what he does best. When you look at Jim Schwartz's defense, every defensive lineman loves to play in it because you don't got assignments like that. Your assignment is to go raise hell. Be back there. That's all we want to just be back there. We'll play the run on the way, and that's what's so great because you got people flying all around, and that is his skill set. So when he plays, he's going to flash. He's going to play a lot during the season. He can play outside. He can play inside. I think Mike Hall Jr. going to be one of them dudes that you turn on and be like, who is this dude and why? And how did they get him in? What round?
Well, I hope so.
What round did they get him in?
I mean, this could be JOK Part 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, it's imperative for an organization when you give up the first-round draft picks like the Browns did.
Yeah.
You damn well better hit on those 2s and 3s. You better. And really, if you think about it, they've done that.
And
they have done that. Martin Emerson.
Yeah.
JOK. Mm-hmm. And there's others that I'm not even naming right now. DeJuan Jones might end up being the biggest one of all of them.
They getting freaks of nature now.
Like, if you're Andrew Berry and you're hitting on those 2s and 3s like that, these guys, if you go back and redraft, some of them would be 1s.
You got to think about that. When Mangini and them was here, they was getting guys like Jason Trusnick and
Stop it.
They was getting guys putting them in.
Owen something. What was the fullback?
Owen Marisic.
Oh my goodness.
Chris Obanaya.
Do you guys remember Ben Gay?
Yes,
he passed away.
Tragically passed away.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. to him.
He played 1 season, I think, with the Browns.
A cup of coffee here.
But I saw over the weekend.
That was sad.
It was sad. Yeah.
It was sad. But we getting guys that look the part. DeJuan Jones looks like a football player. Mike Hall Jr. can run. Martin Emerson is physical. JOK can run.
Andrew Berry's putting together a nice little resume of guys that maybe were under the radar for a lot of teams, but
all we need is receivers, Earl.
I wouldn't overblow what Za'Darius Smith said. I wouldn't read too much into it or think too deep on it. I think that, what I said, G kind of came back to it of, he's watching him on the practice field and he's seeing the prototype and he's seeing flashes of certain things that he might have seen before.
Sure.
And the first name that came to his mind was Aaron Donald. But
I keep that in my hip pocket.
I wouldn't worry about wouldn't worry about the fans kind of putting that type of pressure on him or him not being able to block out the noise. The one thing he does have in his back pocket is he's from Cleveland, and you already know to make anything of yourself from this city, you got to put on the blinders. You got to block out the noise and stay fully focused. He wouldn't have gotten to this point if he couldn't do that, and I'm pretty sure he'd have been compared to player X, player Y, player Z throughout his collegiate career, throughout the entire draft process, etc. All you got to do is just keep his head down and keep working.
I agree with that. Yeah, don't listen to the noise. Don't buy the hype.
Put too much into it.
You're making your reputation every day. So far, he's turned heads. By the way, it's not just Za'Darius Smith. Like, the praise for his play so far is wide-ranging. Guys, in other in other position groups are seeing it and talking about it. So, and I think he's a great player. I loved when they drafted him. I loved watching him play at Ohio State. I thought he had slipped too far when the Browns got him. And I mean, if you're dominating the Big Ten like he dominated it for his last 2 years, you're a man. You're doing it at the highest level. And the fact that he was able to do that tells me that he has every opportunity to come into this league and be a starter and not just a contributor, a guy that jumps off the page at you. But before you make those kind of comparisons, I think you got to do something in the regular season, and then you build up to Aaron Donald, but we'll see.
We are very excited to see what Mike Hall does in his rookie season in Cleveland. If you're out there watching, we have a ton of Browns content coming as the season gets near. We have a preseason game this weekend, which we are hyped about. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Do us a favor, help us out. And you guys know I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop, but as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games, and the dog days of summer are nearly over. And when the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to, FanDuel lets me keep the sports going. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and the ultimate Cleveland sports show. At the end of last week, we talked about Jimmy Haslam's response to Mayor Bibb and the city's proposal of a $461 million public funding plan to help renovate the downtown stadium. Now, according to ClevelandScene over the weekend, the day before Mayor Bibb publicly released that proposal to renovate the current stadium worth $461 million, the Haslam Sports Group and their reps met with Brook Park officials in Berea, and a source close to those meetings had this to say, quote, "They're building that dome," end quote. Jay, I feel like we all agree the inevitable outcome here is a Brook Park Dome one way or another. So if that is the eventual outcome that we are going to land on, and those sources from ClevelandScene make it seem like that is even more reality than maybe we had previously thought, why are we going through this whole process of a public back and forth dogfight that doesn't seem to end? It's not going to end well for some people, and they're going to be very upset when we kind of know the eventual outcome. Why are we going through this whole process?
So your question is a very legitimate question because this is a fait accompli. They are moving to Brook Park. They are building a dome in Brook Park. The question at this point is how much does Haslam pay for, and where else does the money come from? He wants this dome. I do like the volley by Mayor Bibb to put the ball in his court and say, here it is. This is a big chunk of money. You said that you were considering both. The Haslams are playing a very dangerous game of public relations chicken. They want to look like the good guy. In their statement, I laughed. They mentioned, we're doing this for the fans. This is very important for the fans. We want to give them a world-class experience when they come to Browns games. Okay. We put that through our BS detector before the show. But by the way, this BS detector is one of the coolest machines I've ever seen. We have it upstairs in the UCSS sports office. You put the text in, and then it spits it out in a real AI voice. And what they really said was, we want that money. That's what it came down to. And so,
money, Jake.
For me, they're playing a PR game.
Jake, give me the money.
They're going to build it. Now, like I said, I love what Mayor Bibb did. Mayor Bibb wrote a check, or at least a proposal for a check, and said, here it is. Now, he might be playing CYA politics too. He's got to make sure that he can tell his constituents and all of the other power brokers in Cleveland, I tried, man. I tried, but they wanted to move, and they did what they wanted to do. So this is political PR chicken at its best or worst. I don't love it. But again, unless I am wildly misreading the tea leaves here, this team is moving to Brook Park to build a dome with a Jimmy World theme around it that will have residential perhaps, but certainly commercial and entertainment. And these things are going to be high dollar properties, and the Haslams are going to get a piece of all of it because they have the land.
Go ahead. I'm hearing Jay talk, and I got this overhead visual of downtown Cleveland in my head, and I'm just thinking to myself, if there was a place to put a damn dome downtown, this wouldn't even be a discussion. And then I just keep having these visuals of just riding around downtown and just looking at all these, empty ass parking lots, all these huge.
There's places to build
like abandoned buildings, and it's like, man, that ain't enough room. You mean to tell me that's not enough room? And I don't know the logistics, the ins and outs of how you get these type of things done, but I'm starting to be like kind of fed up with this whole narrative that there's absolutely no place that you can build a stadium downtown Cleveland.
Earl,
because now you're trying to make it seem like that we're basically stuck with the downtown that we have, and I'm not buying that. You know what I mean? Like, so, like
they can't put it in the footprint that's in now.
Right, but if this thing is truly about appeasing the fans, and the fans ideally want a dome stadium downtown Cleveland.
Do they? I don't know that for sure. I haven't seen any public opinion
I truly
polls.
believe, the reason why I say that, because we've only been given two options: renovate the current stadium or build a dome in Brook Park. But if it really came down to the come down, and we really told the truth about what we really want, we just want a brand new dome downtown.
I think you're right about that.
That's
Earl.
all we want.
We haven't asked that question to our viewers, have we?
I don't know if we have or not, but like,
I'm doing it right now.
Okay, yeah, I like the way you state that, Earl, because I do think that we're only looking at the two options: Brook Park Dome or renovating this one. But I think you're right. I think and there's land. Drive around anywhere. Drive within a square mile radius of downtown Cleveland. There's blight and empty buildings sitting everywhere you look. Not in the heart of downtown, but in the fringe of downtown. And if they wanted to, they could purchase that land. It would probably be more expensive. And they could build, but here's the problem. It would be landlocked.
See?
It wouldn't have the acreage that they have in Brook Park. And Jimmy isn't about just making money with the team, because that's money that's sitting in a bank that you can't touch until you sell it. Jimmy's about churning cash on the industry that is the Cleveland Browns, on all the adjacent property, because if you look at the trend in pro sports, that's exactly what these guys are doing. Why did David Blitzer buy into the Guardians? Because there's room around the stadium to start to, and he has that land, to start developing that land so you can churn a profit outside of the ballpark.
See what y'all, I did some looking at it. First of all, anytime you're doing business, it's all about location. Let's just be honest with you. When you see dilapidated buildings and high rises, they want a specific target market. And abandoned buildings ain't that target market.
No, it's not.
This is an inner city. You see people, and this happens in a lot of cities. It happened in Seattle. You see people who may be on homeless, they may be on the streets, different places like that. And when you're a business owner, you're looking at, how can I maximize my ability to get the dollars that I know are floating around? I know there's an airport out there. Every time somebody come off that airport, you're traveling for a reason. If you're traveling, you got some money in your pocket, don't you? You got somewhere to eat.
You need a hotel.
You need a hotel.
You need a restaurant.
You need somewhere to stay. And while you're doing it, why not have some entertainment down there? This is a legacy play. If he moves this, they got about 7, 8, 10 more. Listen, these guys, D and Jimmy Haslam, are not spring chickens. They are looking for estate planning. These people was like, yo, give me that land. The land is bought. I own everything around it. I ain't going, that was brilliant. That football money they not touching that. That football money is tucked away. That's the price of doing business. But everything else around there, give me that. Also, like you said, this is very political in nature. They know what they want to do. The mayor had to cover his, too. He was old enough to understand what happened back in the day with Michael White. He was like, man, you're not getting me. I got other aspirations too. And you're not going to be hitting me on the trail saying, well, how did you let the Browns get up out of the city of Cleveland on your watch? He's like, no. I got a proposal out there. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it. And let's talk about this too. Let's just be honest with yourself. I was talking to my mom, and shout out to her. We was having a conversation. I don't know how we got in a deep conversation at the coffee table about the stadium, what are they going to do with it down there. I said, Mom, you got to understand. I watched the documentary, and go back and watch the documentary on the Big Dig in Boston. And look how many billions of dollars it cost They started off in 1981, 82, lasted all. They're still digging up stuff over there. Cost them over $15-16 billion because the city does not have the infrastructure. You can't build projects without the highway system. Right. Everything is going on the lakeshore east to west, right? You got to reroute highways if you want to get access in and out of there in a spark. If you want to put restaurants on the lake, you got to move a whole doggone airport. The reality of the situation is they probably picked the wrong location to begin with.
No, that's a fact. They're cut off from the city by the highway.
By the highway.
And that is, and has always been a problem. And I know that we're going to build a land bridge. That's not going to do it.
You got to walk across the highway to get to the damn stadium.
And you still got to walk. I won't say the name of the owner because he's passed away and he's not here to defend himself. But an NFL owner once told me, we were at a Super Bowl, and he said, "Do you know what's beautiful about owning an NFL team?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "At some point, it's about a lot more than the football dollars." And I said, "What does that mean?" And he said, "The football dollars are the gate and the TV money." But it pains me. Now, his situation was not like this, but he said, "It pains me when I go to other NFL stadiums to watch my team play there, and I look around and I see all the other non-football dollars that owner is putting in his pocket." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Explain." He said, "When you own the football team and you lease the stadium, like most, from the city, and there's a fee for you to pay that, you're just making the football dollars. That's it." Now, this was before the SoFi project was ever launched, okay? He told me this was in the mid to late 90s. And when this discussion was taking place, the Rams were very much a viable NFL team, but it was also known that they could be had. Mm-hmm. And he predicted to me that someone's going to come in and swoop the St. Louis Rams right out of St. Louis. It's not going to be a hard play to do. The owner wants to go. And they're going to take them to a place that's going to be known as a football theme park. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Tell me more." He said, "Someone's going to buy them and relocate them to a major metropolis. Maybe it's L.A., maybe it's Chicago. If New York and L.A. could at one time have two teams, why not Chicago? Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to come in and buy that team, and that's going to be part of his purchase price. Then he's going to go buy a massive swath of land, and he's basically going to build Disney World for football." Mm-hmm. And that is exactly what happened. The Rams, and if you think about it, remember the city of St. Louis sued the NFL and won a massive amount of money. All worth it in the long run because they traded a middling market for the number 2 market that had no football at the time. And now what you have is not just a stadium that could host, like Cleveland, 8 games a year. You've got a stadium that's churning every Sunday.
Cooking with something.
Because then they went and stole the Chargers too. Mm-hmm. Now you got the Chargers and the Rams playing every Sunday a home game. And every single time that stadium is full, they're paying for parking. They're paying for restaurants and entertainment. They're paying for alcohol. All in this NFL amusement park. And Jimmy's no dummy. Jimmy saw the money, the amount of money that's being made out there, and he said, "Oh, I need that."
And he has
I want that.
And he has in his back pocket one of the most loyal fan bases in the entire world. It don't even matter if you win.
You can go 0-16, we're gonna
still show up. And now it's even a bigger point. You go 0-16, at least you can go inside and look at the nice shops and everything and go out eat at the restaurant because it's beautiful, and you don't got to be cold anymore.
No. Now, as a fan, I do not begrudge Jimmy for doing that. We live in a society that allows you to make what you can make. That's our deal. That's how it works.
It's capitalism, right?
That's capitalism, and I'm all for it. I am not for socialism. Now, in baseball, what you kind of have is socialism. They take 30 teams and split the TV money, and they all get it, and the poor come up to here, and they don't have to put a good product on the field to make a profit, because they're getting the TV money no matter what. The NFL, there are no poor owners in the NFL. No. There are no week-to-week owners in the NFL. They can make payroll. Don't worry about it. But I don't begrudge Jimmy for doing that. But here's what I'm going to say to that. If you're going to do that and you're going to take this team out of the downtown area for just the second time ever, they've always played downtown, then they moved, we lost them, then they came back downtown. If you're going to move them downtown to Jimmy World in Brook Park and have all this adjacent land, and that cash register is going to be churning year-round because it's a dome. So you want an event in February, March, April, May, it's all, the money's flowing.
You got to pay
You
for
damn
that.
well better put a team on the field that we're proud of.
And you got to foot the bill. He's not going to foot all
Right.
the bill.
Don't ask taxpayers to pay for this.
Because you had a bag, you just took the bag, and you buying soccer teams, you're buying basketball teams, like you got all this money.
Spent a lot of money on the Milwaukee Bucks.
A bunch of it.
Like could have built his stadium.
Y'all just got to get paid again, man.
But I will say, I don't think to put, like, for me as a business owner, and to attract different businesses, if I'm a business owner, say, all right, do I want to pay rent downtown by Tower City?
No.
Or do I want to go out to the shiny stadium where I could get walk-through traffic 12 months out of the year? I need traffic. I want people to be attracted in here. That's the biggest
Because
draw.
that stadium is landlocked, man. I mean, it's downtown, but it's not downtown.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we all know this stadium is going to be built in Brook Park. But, like, as you were just talking, I just think that if we could have it our way, we had the space, we had the land here,
Sure.
and you build a brand new dome. You can build Jimmy's World downtown Cleveland. It's not going to happen.
You could.
But
I think, and Mike might have some results of the poll. Here's what I think fans want. They want a winning team, first and foremost. They'll go to a parking lot and watch this team
I'll take
play
that
if
over
they're
a
good.
brand new stadium any day of the week.
Yes, we want a good team. So, Jimmy and D, if you get your way here and it looks like you're going to, good for you. That's great. Make all the money you can. Make us proud.
Think about this.
Give us a football team that wins something,
You
not just competes,
You
but
renovate
wins
Arrowhead and Lambeau Field all the time. They've won
Sure.
Super Bowls. If I had to renovate this old ass stadium year in and year out,
something. It could be done.
and we was winning Super Bowls,
You wouldn't care.
I wouldn't care at all.
I'll go wherever to watch this team win. And even if that means Jimmy gets 99 cents on every dollar spent on the Cleveland Browns, I don't care. He's the owner. Take the risks, but make us proud. You know, we are shareholders. And by that, I mean without us, there is no Browns. Now, we've proven to be loyal almost to a fault. 0-16, we throw a parade.
I will say,
And we keep coming back.
I
I
will say,
renewed my season tickets.
A lot of people did.
I will say this.
God help you, man.
Tyvis said this, though. That dome does more for players than we know.
You're right about that.
If winning is the main goal, and you want to attract players, keep players, develop players, the players want the dome.
Now, all that being said, as much as they would like to play indoors to extend their career and it's easier on your body, you know what the Players Association right now is saying about artificial turf.
Now, I would
It's
like
got
them,
to be natural grass.
I would like them to keep grass.
It's only natural grass if it's a retractable
It's got
dome.
to be. Andrew Berry said that we plan them to be athletes, not gladiators. So you got to put them on natural grass.
But here's the thing. I haven't heard that it's going to be retractable for sure. If it's retractable, you're right.
Why would
No,
they-
but I think the Raiders, they play on natural grass and their dome is not retractable.
Well,
don't the Texans do it? Well, Texans
I
can
don't know
open
that.
up.
I don't know. I'm not sure of that, but you can't grow grass without sunlight. I know
Roll it-
that.
Yeah, you can roll it in and out.
Now, the one in Arizona, you can roll in and out.
Now, I don't
But
know.
I don't know that that's the case in Vegas. I don't know enough about
I believe
Allegiant.
they play on natural grass. I could be
I
wrong
don't
about
know
that,
enough
but I
about
think they play on
Allegiant.
natural grass.
I'll look it up. I do have the results, and we got to move on and talk a little Guardians. But we have hundreds of votes, close to 500 now. 7% want a renovated outdoor downtown stadium.
Yeah, I would have guessed that.
41% prefer a Brook Park Dome, and 52% said, money aside, they'd prefer a downtown dome if possible. So Earl was right in his initial evaluation that if everything was on the table, the most popular choice is not one that's currently being considered. So take that how you may.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. And we're going to talk a little Guardians now, guys, because we spent the first hour and 15 minutes on the Browns, which means Browns season is back. But we still have other sports to cover. And this next segment about the Guardians is brought to us by our sponsor, BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get things off our chest. Big or small, certain things can really start to get to you, and it's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased in your life. I don't like complaining to my parents when the Guardians lose games because they frankly don't care, but my therapist is there to hear me out, let me get my frustrations out, and then put me back in a better headspace. So if therapy can be different for everyone, and most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports teams, and it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Just visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Jay, was a great start to the Orioles series. It was a terrible finish to the Orioles series, especially considering Gavin Williams was on the bump on Sunday and got roughed up. When you guys look at this 4-game series in totality, a 2-2 split, what's your biggest takeaway coming out of this 4-game set with the Orioles that we think can apply to how this Guardians team is going to finish off the season?
For me, it was simple. I see a Cleveland Guardians team that can compete with the best teams in all of Major League Baseball. The Guardians can hit with anybody. It's just a matter of will this starting pitching show up and be quality game in and game out. But, you know, the first 2 games, we kind of controlled those games from start to finish. The game Saturday hit their early home run. They kind of took control and they ran with it. The game Sunday, though, was the game to where I felt like that's where I was convinced this team can hit with anybody. They can go mano for mano, like with anybody. You know, Baltimore gets out, they score some runs. Guardians kept clawing back, but the pitching didn't do them no favors. And as long as we get some quality pitching and some quality starts, we can hit with every team that we're going to be competing for to get to the World Series. So, 2-2 split, they didn't lose the series. You went head-to-head with the second-best team in the American League, and y'all split the series. There was a lot of offense throughout this entire series, and the Guardians showed that they can hold their own against anybody. So I walked away confident, even though they lost the last game.
Well, I came away thinking like this. Baltimore, I came away thinking Baltimore ain't going away. They came back, you was up 2-0. And they're not going away. Like, they got sticks. They feel like they could. The first couple games it was sloppy. Baltimore was sloppy the first couple of games, especially on the throwing a baseball defensively. Baltimore is a really young team. They're like super young. Their infield is crazy though when it comes to like when you look at the talent level they got. It's just the way of baseball is, right? Like, I feel like if you get down to the postseason in baseball, which is the most nerve-wracking thing to watch as the spectator, it's a coin flip. Baseball is a sport where I could watch a basketball game and it could be a 7-game series. And I know, generally speaking, whoever has the best players are going to play well and win that 7-game series. You can look at in football, generally speaking, if you have the best quarterback or you have the best guy, the signal caller, you give yourself a really good chance to win. In baseball, it's completely different. Like, you saw the tale of 2 tapes. You saw the first 2 games and you saw the last 2 games. I think these teams are really equally matched. I think Baltimore's bats still scare me a little bit. And I think the pitching for the Guardians scares me a little bit. I think these 2 teams will face off in the playoffs, and this was kind of a foreshadowing of what you're going to see of what a series could look like if those two teams played. So for me, I mean, I don't know if I could take anything if they would have swept the Baltimore Orioles. I wouldn't have come in and say, oh, well, the Baltimore Orioles are finished. I would just say that the Guardians, played a really good series. But, I don't think with the roster that they have, I don't think anybody definitively can say the Guardians are the prohibitive favorites or they won't be able to have a chance to win series and get to the World Series.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a prohibitive favorite in the American League right now. I think that's for sure, because I think a lot of people are kicking dirt on the Yankees. We've seen that they've come back to life, and they're very much going to be a factor. And let's face it, who's the one team the Guardians never want to see in the postseason?
Yankees, Spankies. Ain't nobody worried about that.
Well, don't worry about them in August. We'll talk to you in October. Their lineup is ferocious.
I want to see nothing in Yankee Stadium.
I don't want to see the Yankees. I would much rather see the Orioles. By the way, we've played the Orioles 7 games this year, and we won the series 4-3. So I like the way we match up against the Orioles, but I feel pretty much the same way coming out of the series as I felt going into it. We don't have enough pitching. If we don't win, it will be because of that lack of pitching, and that's why I wanted us to get another arm at the break, at the deadline. I understand that they were not going to overpay. They don't do that. and they would have had to overpay to get the arm that they needed. So on one hand, they were fiscally and they were long-term responsible, and I'm glad that they were. But in October, if we end up making it to the playoffs and lose before the World Series, it will be because our starting pitching wasn't good enough. They scored enough runs to win all 4 games. They did. Our pitching let us down. Gavin Williams is supposed to be a front of the rotation guy for us. Didn't look like it. Didn't look like it at all.
Jay, doesn't this? But I think what we miss on this is Gavin Williams and Bybee are. I'm not gonna say they rookies.
No, they're young.
But they're like second. Like these guys, we were asking when they were gonna get called up last year.
Right.
Like, if you're going into the playoffs and you say my best 2 pitchers are 2 young guys that we brought up last year halfway through the season, that's a problem.
It is a problem. That's why we needed a quality starter that has been around long enough. And I look at what the asking price ended up being for Fedde. We could have ponied up that. We had the prospects to do that. We've got guys now in our system that we have kind of turned the page on. Like Gabriel Arias was at one point like, oh, this guy's going to, well, not so much anymore.
Right.
Would he have been a piece? Could he have been a piece? Perhaps. I think for what the White Sox got to move him, we could have parted ways with a similar compensation package and or player package, and it would have instantly made us that much better. And I would have felt much more comfortable going into the playoffs. He's pitched twice against us, both times 6 innings, didn't give up a run. I think gave up 3 hits in both starts. If we don't win this thing, it's going to be because we don't have the pitching, and that's why I wanted one more arm at the deadline. I still like our team. The kind of fluky thing here is Jose Ramirez has hit 5 home runs, I think, in his last 6 games or 5 games.
6 after
now,
Sunday.
Now it's 6. When you hear that, you would think that, when he's homering, we're winning games, and we typically do. But yesterday, Naylor had the big 3-run shot that got us into it. And what disappointed me most about Gavin Williams, you know this from playing baseball for a long time, the most important inning for pitchers is when you come back from an inning in which your team put runs on the board. Now you got the momentum.
Yeah.
They hit that 3-run homer, and they made it a 1-run game, and I said, here we go. And Gavin Williams came right back out there and let up a 2 spot.
You want a 10-pitch inning.
You need a clean inning, man.
10-pitch inning.
You need a clean inning. And every time he needed a clean inning, he got dinged.
It should have been a grand slam, though. That was a big
It should have been a grand slam.
Umpire, man.
You're right.
That was a high strike.
You're right.
Like, he kept calling things outside the strike zone the entire
I know, it was a
time.
mess.
So, like, we didn't do ourselves no favors. The umps didn't do us no favors.
No,
and
but
Gavin
still.
didn't.
Like, Gavin Williams got to come out that next inning and shut him down.
The home runs that he gave up to Jackson Holliday and the one he gave up to Gunnar Henderson, it seemed like it was the exact same pitch in the exact same location.
You can't do that.
In the exact same spot.
Yeah, you do that against good teams, and they're going to turn them into souvenirs. And so what fears me the most is we know how playoff games work. We've seen it for many years.
3 years we've been here.
You better be hitting 3-run homers, and your pitchers better be throwing zeros on the board.
Yeah.
And I believe that we do have a team that can knock 3-run homers. I do. The guys that hit in front of Naylor and Ramirez get on base. So you have 2 legitimate home run threats that can get the 3-run home run swing in the playoffs because you know that the top of the lineup is going to be on base. What disappoints me, I think, more than anything is that we never seem to have both at the same time.
Nope.
In the mid-'90s and late 90s, we had all the big bats and we didn't have the arms to get it done. I thought coming into this year we were going to be a team all about pitching and could we score runs. Boy, that narrative is exactly flipped. We score runs, but can we get guys out?
It's like when you play against this team, right? When you're the Guardians and you're playing against a team that's very similar to you, you got to score first, and to me it's like a race to 5.
Right.
Race to 5, you get to your bullpen, and you should be able to control the game. Now, that didn't happen over the last 2 games for the Guardians. No. And you had to stay in there, you had to fight back, you had to
our
claw,
bullpen looked human.
Et cetera. And so when you just look at it in the entire grand scheme of things, man, you know, you talk about these young pitchers, you talk about guys like Gavin Williams giving up the home runs. we better hope and pray that Alex Cobb can come back in here and try to stabilize this rotation as that veteran, former All-Star, etc. But another note, and it's never good to give up, home runs in those spots. But it's not like you play the Baltimore Orioles every single situation. Those home runs was hit with 2 outs. And the two teams that score the most runs with 2 outs are the Orioles and the Guardians.
And the Guardians, 1
and
and
so, 2. Again, you're just going up against another good team. And if you can just kind of get those hiccups out the way, just thank God you're not playing a team that's on your level like that every single week.
The one thing that gives me great reason to be optimistic is I like Cobb a lot. I went back and watched the highlights of his near no-hitter last year against the Reds. He gave up a hit with 2 outs in the 9th to lose the no-hitter. I went back and watched the highlight reel from that game. If we get anything near that guy, he is a solid number 2 or 3. But here's the raw meat is this. Logan Allen is back up. Hopefully he learned his lesson, and we're going to see the Logan Allen that we saw last year. Gavin Williams, we know Gavin Williams can pitch. He's been 2 hit or miss for us, but we know he can pitch. We know that. Now we're going to talk about Tristan McKenzie in a second and what he did in his most recent. I think it was yesterday he pitched in the minors. He looked like Tristan McKenzie again. For McKenzie, I think it started out physical and went mental. Hopefully, the physical is better because yesterday, for the first time, it looked like the mental was there. He couldn't locate, and to me, that wasn't him. And yesterday, he located. And if all of these guys can pitch to their potential, we make a deep playoff run. And yes, I do think we can win a World Series if all of them pitch to their potential.
Can I ask you guys a question real quick? Lane Thomas made his full series debut over the weekend.
Right.
Not necessarily great.
Nope.
Through 5 games so far, he has 20 at-bats. He's hitting 150 with 9 strikeouts. He has walked 3 times.
Right.
Just 5 games. Tiny sample size. No need to blow any of this out of proportion whatsoever.
Not yet.
Just curious what your initial thoughts were for seeing Lane Thomas in an minimally extended stretch for the Guardians as their everyday right fielder.
It may not be as much, but I always had, back in the day, when people switch leagues, it was a thing.
It was
a huge thing.
Not as much now because they do see interleague play and the scouting is so much
scouting
better
is better. Yeah, but there is still something to be said of, okay, now I'm going against guys I don't really see that often. And you get to a new place, it's very difficult. I would rather you have a slow start than you see people get off to a fast start and then just fall off.
Right.
I would rather him start off a little slow. It's a small sample size. I'll be interested to see though, if they're going to play him every day.
Well, no, I think he's going to play every day.
Brennan, they sent Will down, right? Do you have his card where you could throw his stats up, or you don't have it?
Will Brennan or Lane Thomas?
Will Brennan. I know what Lane Thomas.
I have not made a Will Brennan one in a while, but I can
call him up
real quick
and put Lane Thomas's on the screen so our viewers can see what he's been this year, and then read the back of the baseball card this year for Will Brennan.
Will Brennan this season has a .233 batting average.
Yep.
8 homers, 24 RBIs, and a .670 OPS. In this season alone, he has 227 at-bats.
Okay, so did we discernibly get better?
Same cat. Same dude.
Same guy.
Same dude. Except Will Brennan.
Same guy.
Yeah, same guy. Will Brennan, best left-hander. But I think the same guy. And I've always said this too. The Guardians need one of these others to do something. Because to me, I think the organization has set up and said, how do we want to view this season? Do we want to view this season as, look, we're going to see if they can finish it off because we got young guys, that it's a nice story? Or do they feel like this is all house money? We weren't even supposed to be here yet. We lost our pitching. We stand afloat. Because to be truthful, if you look at it, they are counting on all young guys to maintain this level of play or play better in order to win. We talked about Bobby. We talked about Williams. But they still got a lot of guys, Martinez, Noel. They got a lot of guys, Steeman, that they're counting and still platooning
Right.
Why they're making a run. So, I mean, you look at Brennan, I would be surprised to see Will Brennan come back up and them give some more opportunities because that's what they've been doing.
I like Will Brennan. Like him a lot personally and as a player. He's not an all-star. Mm-hmm. He's never going to be an all-star. But if you're going to make a move and you're going to move out a guy that's hitting 233 with 8 home runs, you can't bring in a guy that's hitting 245 with 8 home runs.
Right. See,
that doesn't do a thing to improve your club.
It's a move. It's a swap.
And I know that it's a right-handed bat versus a left-handed bat, but for me, what I need to see is if you're going to make a move for somebody and you're going to move a guy that's been a part of your team now for 2 years down to the minor leagues, he better be a 288, 19 homer, 75 RBI guy. And that's not who we got.
They say they traded for a right-hand power bat that got some speed. They say he bats over 300 against left-handers.
I can't call him a power bat, though.
Right-handed pitcher, so...
Will's not a power bat either. Can he hit a home run? Yeah. So. He can give you some home runs. But to me, a power bat is Hosey or Naylor. I need a guy.
Think he's still getting getting himself adjusted to being with this team.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge him on the 150. I'm just saying, on the surface, the guy that you now have as an everyday player wasn't a major upgrade from what you had there. And as much as I love that Stephen Vogt gives these guys plenty of opportunity, that is different when you get in the playoffs.
Playoffs.
You need to get in that everyday rhythm. And if you start checkerboarding guys in your lineup when you get to the playoffs, you're going to have not one guy in a slump. You're going to have 2 guys in slumps.
Yeah, 3 guys.
It's hard to do that in the playoffs.
And so my thing is, Noel has some power, but are they going to deal with the strikeouts when it comes to...
And right on cue, have to deal with it. Right on cue, the Guardians play tonight, as always on this show, when we are critical like this. Lane Thomas goes 3 for 4 tonight.
And let's hope so.
Hey, I hope so. 3 for 4.
This is how this goes on this show.
This is a pitching match for them.
It is, but this is how this goes.
All right, speaking of pitching matchups, we got to talk about Tristan McKenzie a little more in depth. But first, a quick reminder that if you text the number at the bottom of your screen right now, you can be signed up for the UCSS newsletter. It comes out every Monday and has some exclusive content from Earl, who writes a little article. Steve Becker puts together a top 5. We give out some member shout-outs. This week's member of the week is Curtis Thomas, so shout out to Curtis Thomas. If you're not, it costs you $0.00. Just text the number on the bottom of your screen to get signed up for the newsletter and get that exclusive UCSS content as well as a wrap-up of what you may have missed from the week before. Speaking of what you may have missed, if you didn't see what Tristan McKenzie did in Columbus over the weekend, you're missing out. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 11 strikeouts, just 3 walks, which is still too many, but you can live with 3 when he's giving up no runs and striking out 11. Jay, it's been an up-and-down roller coaster for Tristan McKenzie this season, including his stint in Columbus, but do you think this could be a turning point for Tristan McKenzie to, at some point, work his way back into the Guardians' bullpen, rotation, whatever it may be, to help this team win come playoff time?
I hope so. Look at that picture of Tristan McKenzie in the Clippers uniform. The one thing that you notice about Tristan McKenzie is that guy is always smiling. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's before a game, after a game. You won't see it a lot while he's pitching. But he just is a happy, positive ray of sunshine. And that look, I think, sums up where he is right now, emotionally and mentally. Look, we were talking about him as a Cy Young candidate. He's pitched in the minor leagues most of this year.
I just want to say, if Tristan McKenzie, I'm in the damn minors.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was talked about as I asked him at spring training who it is. Who is it? And here he is in the minor leagues. And we tend to forget because it's been so long. But if you would have put the starting pitching that we thought we were breaking spring training with, Shane Bieber as your 1, Tristan McKenzie as your 1A, Logan Allen, Bybee, Gavin Williams, with this offense, you got a 15-game lead in your division, and you're far and away the best team in baseball. But the best laid plans. Bieber is out after 2 starts. McKenzie has been bad at the big league level and, to be honest, bad in the minor leagues. We need him to be Tristan McKenzie. And sometimes guys wake up. He's got the talent. That's not an issue. That is not an issue. I thought for me the issue was health, but
I still do.
His fastball velocity it's coming. I don't think he's where he was 2 years ago, but I also think that if he can return to the guy that everyone knows he can be, who cares what April, May, and June look like, and July? If he can be Tristan McKenzie in August, September, and October, just like we forgot about Shane Bieber, we'll forget about bad Tristan McKenzie. And he's part of the reason why I have this optimism that Bybee and McKenzie and Allen and Williams and now Cobb, that's a good-looking staff on paper. We know what they're capable of. Now they got to go do it. They've got to go out and do it. And if they do, I really like this team's chances.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No. Before you go, I mean, to what Jay just said, I have the same vision, right? Because even if Tristan McKenzie doesn't come back and he's a starter, the fact that he's in that bullpen, that's another weapon that you can deploy, right? Even if Logan Allen isn't a part of the starting rotation, if he get his damn attitude together.
I think this last attitude adjustment
because
worked.
That last start, the way he reacted to being taken out the game, to me, that had a lot to do with other things of why he was sent down to the minor leagues. It wasn't just how he was performing on the mound. So
no, I agree.
If he can get his attitude together and he's not even a starter, again, that's another arm that you have in that bullpen. We know what the back end of that bullpen looks like, right? And I know we keep saying if, but to your point, you look at this team as it is right now, and if we can just stabilize our pitching,
done deal.
Man, it's over with.
Yeah.
How old is Tristan McKenzie?
25, 26, maybe.
26, I believe.
All right. So look,
plenty young enough.
He brought the fact up, like, you watch it, and obviously that's a shot where he could, they could catch you anywhere with a camera and look like you're happy or not. But we all know that he's not happy being in the minor leagues, right? Nor should he be, right? The caliber pitcher he is. To me, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I've always thought this. He's in a no-win situation, and I think half of the mental issues that he's going through is he has a very difficult decision. I always thought that he should have had surgery to fix his elbow. When he opted not to, that puts you in a conundrum because you're healthy enough to pitch at a certain level, but you're not healthy enough to be at the top where you need to be.
Cy Young candidate.
So now you're saying to yourself, well, since I opted to wait it out, and that's a whole year that I missed waiting. I already lost that year. Now your clock is ticking. I'm 26. Now you're in the same thing as Shane Bieber, right? A pitcher wants that bag. It's what you're thinking about. They understand what elbows look like. They understand it's not for long. You start to be around 25, 26 with a Tommy John surgery, or you probably need to go get one. Like, it's hard to sign up for that.
What's really bad about this, G, is that we were told that the two sides had agreed on an extension that would have paid him and set him up for financial security for the rest of his life. And here's the worst part about that is it wasn't signed in time.
Yep.
He went out and pitched, and in his next start, he had the elbow.
Yep.
And what's really bad, psychologically, you don't think he's beating himself up? And rolling the dice last year, not getting the surgery, trying to make it work, not being the same guy this year. He's got a lot going on inside his body. But he's had enough time to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I think he's a very bright guy. Mm-hmm. And his family is very involved in his decision-making, and very much they are a tight-knit group. I think this stint in the minor leagues has been good for him. This is my hope as much as a theory. When you get knocked down, you need a standing 8 count before you've got your hands up and you're throwing punches again. I think the injury and not signing the contract before, that knocked him off his feet.
It did.
And his standing 8 count, he was trying to clear the cobwebs, and he wasn't good. I think the last 2 months for him, he's had a chance to come to grips with what's happened. I can't go back and do it over. I can't.
He has to reinvent the way he pitches almost a little bit.
Or I just got to get my mind right because his mind hasn't been right, and why would it? Dealing with all of the stuff that he had to deal with. The contract was agreed upon. All he was waiting on were I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed, and he messes up his elbow. So that stroke of bad luck. Then he decides not to have surgery last offseason. Then he comes back this year as a shell of himself. His velo wasn't there from the beginning. We all knew it. We all saw it. He'd have moments, but by and large, he was not good. He went to the minor leagues, was not good. I think this was a standing 8 count for him.
Yeah.
I think he's cleared his head, and now he's ready to let his arm do the talking, and he doesn't have to worry about the mind overtaking his performance like he was early this year. That's my hope and my theory.
Man, my grandmother would say, man, it's something about weathering that storm, and that blessing just hit so much different after the fact. When everything that has been sent to break you mentally, physically, everything's sent to destroy you, and you just keep bouncing back with that refusal to quit. And if he's every bit of the man that you say he is, Jay,
he is.
It's going to be beautiful on the other side of it.
I love your grandmother. Never met her, but I love that because there is something about that first ray of sunshine after a terrible storm.
Yeah.
It gives you hope. It gives you reason to keep pushing through. He's had a lot to deal with, this young man, mentally. First of all, his success came at warp speed, and he looked like a phenom. And it looked like everything was falling into place to be perfect. But what follows the setback? The comeback. And I think he has his runway now to come back. If he's right physically, and he can get the mental part of it to go hand in hand, he can be Tristan McKenzie from 2 years ago.
Book it. Postseason MVP. Tristan McKenzie. Postseason MVP 2024.
All right, wouldn't that be something?
Tristan McKenzie.
I hope. Boy, I tell you
I love your fairy tale ending.
Yeah, I do too. I like that.
Well, that'd be a hell of a postseason ending. Speaking of another
Somebody got to
postseason
write
hero,
the story.
We got to pivot. If you want more Guardians talk, check out the Ultimate Guardian show that Zach and Bull did this morning. It's on our YouTube page. But Earl mentioned McKenzie potentially being a postseason hero. There was a moment in time last year where Marcus Morris was a bit of a postseason hero for the Cavaliers, and Keith Pompey, who writes for the Philadelphia Inquirer, put out a report this weekend that said the Sixers and the Cavs are the favorites to bring back Marcus Morris. There's some mutual interest between both the teams and said players. The Cavs have some holes. They have yet to make a single external offseason move so far this summer. So would you guys welcome a reunion of Marcus Morris back to this Cavaliers roster?
Man, I welcome a salami sandwich at this point. Like, hey, you mean they're gonna bring somebody in and actually like add to the team? That's a novel thought. Yeah, and then maybe this time you'll play him too when he has like 30 points.
Man, why you keep getting a smart aleck against the Cavs, man?
No, but I listen. I like where he's going with this. Let's see what this roster from last year can do with a different leader.
Right, like this crazy. That's crazy. Like I ain't against them or nothing. It's just like they just like these reports coming out. Remember, we was on watch. We had the Mikey McNuggets ticker at the bottom. Free agents going here, there. There was articles.
Mike Baby make 27 graphics of potential free agents. And didn't use a damn one of them.
I cannot be held responsible for their lack of moves, okay?
Hey, we had topics on top of topics, boy. We was right. Then Summer League came and went.
The more this goes on, the more it screams to me, which is stunning that it took as long as it did. They're running it back. They're running it back 100%.
To the team, like it's the same written.
Everything.
It's plagiarism at this point.
They run it back to the point so much. Todd Jerome is starting the season with a bad ankle.
Right.
That's how much they're running it back.
But here's what's crazy about
this.
That's funny. Remember
wild.
When the season ended, they went into their bunker and they did their autopsy.
Right.
And look how long it took to fire the coach.
Yeah, it was weeks.
So we were thinking, man, they're really on the fence here with this thing.
Man.
And now it's almost like when the light finally went off for them, when they finally realized that Bickerstaff wasn't the key, they have since gone all in on he was the problem and the only problem because everything else is coming back exactly the same.
They even talk about McNuggets was like, hey, Isaac Okoro deal. I said, we talk about this is Isaac Okoro.
Yeah.
This isn't like I was waiting for something. Nothing. It's the same thing. Like they got, and then I understand development. Like this man better be the Wizard of Oz. Like he better have the magic wand. He turning ruby slippers into Cinderella slippers.
Because he has the same pile of clay.
He got the same roster. You still got 2 non-shooting bigs. You still got 2 small guards, and you still planning on playing Max Strus at the 3. Unless he gonna be 6'9", grow and get 3 more inches
got that
on
late
his
growth
vertical.
spurt.
Like this is crazy. These dudes. Kobe Altman might have the biggest set of what's in the world.
So
because not only he ran it back, he said, I'm gonna trace it. I'm gonna trace the run back and just do it to a T.
All right, to bring us back here, I ain't got no problem with the Cavs wanting to bring back Marcus Morris, man. Marcus Morris has a certain attitude.
I like that too.
I like
a certain demeanor.
He brings an
that
edge.
I think is absolutely necessary to have in this locker room. Now, some people might be against that because of what he had to say about Jared Allen, but I'm pretty sure those 2 grown men can mend fences and move forward. It's just that his energy, his attitude, and his demeanor is something that this Cavs team needs. This Cavs team was labeled as soft. You know what I'm saying? The team that can be punked before he showed up. When he showed up, you didn't really say that about the Cavs. So if they can work something out,
He's just got. I
and
want
they
to
bring
see him
back,
out there more.
Like
I'd start him.
We got a different coach. We got a different coach. So.
McNuggets, why? I would start him.
Is Tristan Thompson coming back?
I don't honestly that if they bring Morris back, they have no space for Thompson.
No, but what the hell? I mean,
Mike Brown coming back as an consultant.
Mike Brown's back as an assistant.
You know what I'm saying? Mike Fratello is he got his restaurant up at Rocket Mortgage Field House now.
Do you listen? You do ultimate Cavs. I mean, are you excited about the full run back? Because this is the run back ultimate. It's like a Born Legacy or something.
Ultimate run back show.
The ultimate run back show.
You are banking everything, and I mean everything,
the coach,
on it being a coaching issue last year, in the last 2-3 years, and not a player personnel
which is
issue.
why, Mike, I said it's stunning to me that they have now definitively screamed from the mountaintops. It was the coach, and it took them 10 days to get to that point.
Actually, they fired him a year too late.
We thought so too.
If you thought it was the coach and you don't make any other changes, would you not have an inkling that he wasn't the guy?
I would have done it after the Knicks debacle from 2 years ago.
And at least you could get some fresh set of eyes in working with these guys. So now this year you're ahead of the curve.
You wasted a year, and we said that. We sat right here after the New York Knicks series. We sat right here and said he's got to go.
Know what this sound like? Freddie Kitchens and Kevin Stefanski. That's what that sound like.
Kinda.
Hey, if we get Kevin Stefanski level coaching,
I'm just saying the year prior. Remember?
I know. But what I'm here to tell you is,
if we get that level of coaching from Kenny Atkinson,
we make a deep playoff run. I'm not saying we win the East, but I'm saying
if he unlocks Evan Mobley and Evan Mobley becomes this dude that we all believe he can. If he becomes the dude I seen since we do this with Deshaun Watson, if I see 33 and 13, if he's that dude, the last dude I seen. Then our whole tone about the Cavaliers is different. Our whole tone is different.
I agree.
Again, we talk about this. We talk about the Olympics. One thing that I learned about watching the Olympics is that there are some killers. These dudes, the best players in the world, these dudes, not only are they good, these dudes is getting bumps, and these dudes is going. These guys are getting better.
Yeah.
Derek White I'm like, dang, is he that dude? When you start to see Derek White balling, and you're like, that's their 4th best, might be 5th. He might be the worst starter they got.
Did you see the workout?
Porzingis might be better than him.
Darius Garland was working out with Bronny. I think it was like a Clutch Sports workout, but I saw some video of Darius and Bronny
It probably was
together.
Clutch related.
It was Clutch, and I saw someone tweet this, and this tweet angered me because it was stupid, but it did make me laugh. And you take that however you want. But it was like Booker and Derek White and Drew Holiday playing in the Olympics, practicing against Team USA every day.
That's low-hanging fruit.
And we got Darius Garland practicing against Bronny James.
That's low-hanging fruit.
And then underneath it said, ... internal improvement loading. And I got angry at it, and
but it
I
is
had
kind of
G's
funny.
reaction. It was a funny tweet.
But
I can't look.
it is what it is. I mean,
that's wild.
Look,
Who
man.
wrote that?
Listen, G, it's not funny. I told you it's not funny.
Who wrote that?
I don't know, and I wish I remembered
wild.
it, but
the internal. Hey, no, I'm not going. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Listen. I am going to say this, and I'm going to ask this question. Right? We see Evan Mobley 15 points a game. Once again, I think we need to taper Unicorn. We got to tape. LaMarcus Aldridge was a very good player in this league.
Yeah.
If we get Evan Mobley to have his skill set, we'll take it. Like, I mean,
I'm still not ready to put that as a ceiling on him.
Me neither.
If LaMarcus Aldridge is a 24-point scorer, I've been waiting to see 20. I need to see 20. He's at 15.
It's just, it's in there, man. It's in there.
If Atkinson is the
be
developer that we've heard,
Yeah.
you use the exact right phrase. It's all about unlocking his potential. It's there. We all see it. We know it. He's exhibited every single skill set that he's needed to be the next level superstar. He's got to do it on a regular basis every night, all of it put together. And it's there. It's not like we're asking him to be a height that he's not or to do something that he can't do. We've seen him do all of it individually. We need him to master all of it so we can take it out there and do it 85% of the time. He can go out on 8 nights out of 10 and give you that kind of unicorn performance. Atkinson is this developmental guy. So let's see him do it.
This is just a strictly basketball conversation. McNuggets, are we imagining when you say unicorn, it all has to be offensively? Because I'm going to just be honest.
The defensive part is there.
Right.
It's both. Wemby's a defensive unicorn.
Right.
He is.
But here's the thing, though. Would you not say Wemby's offensive game is ahead of Evan Mobley's?
Yeah.
It's not even a question. Yeah, it's light years ahead. Frankly speaking, if Mobley could ever shoot like Wemby can as a rookie, it would be leaps and bounds, eons. You would live with that and run to the bank and say we hit an absolute home run.
Because now he's a threat outside. Right now, he's not a threat outside. He doesn't shoot enough, and he's not a threat.
Even if he was at Porzingis level, right? Like young Porzingis, like Porzingis with the Knicks. If you got that, I would be like, okay, well, I'll take it. I just think sometimes we overestimate what his ceiling is.
To Wemby.
Let me ask this question, Mike. Let me ask you this question.
I don't.
Let me ask you this question.
Shoot, and then we got some super chats.
All right, so how long did it take in the development process for Joker to turn into Joker, Giannis to turn into Giannis? Like, I just feel like we try to rush the process so much that when we look at the guys that's considered the best players in the league now, you know, where were they ranked at in year 3 or 4? So
you're basically saying coming into year 4,
like,
where is
Jokic and Giannis both made – neither was as good as Mobley was as a rookie.
Right.
But all of those guys showed more consistent
progress. More growth.
Even though they were in very different situations. The situations matter for that because they got more opportunities. Mobley has never had a chance – to get those extra opportunities to increase his numbers. It's more of the eye test with Mobley than it is than the actual numbers.
And we also all agree that Mitchell's presence stunted his growth. The Cavs admitted as much last year at the end of the season.
And on the flip side of that, too, and it's a
Mitchell
good point,
ain't going
because everyone develops differently.
Yeah.
There are certain guys that come in the league and you just know. Like, it didn't take 4 years for LeBron. It's not going to take 4 years for Wemby. There are guys who, when you are of that caliber of player that we hope Evan Mobley can develop into, and he certainly can. I'm not saying you should write it off. Some guys come in and you just know. And when you know, you kind of know. And Mobley, the fact that he hasn't shown that definitive, this is my ceiling offensive potential, you can blame it on coaching, opportunities, his role on the team because they were thrust into a winning situation immediately. But he hasn't shown us that consistent offensive killer mentality either. It's not just the skill. It's the mentality.
And we're changing up the experiment. Right now, the control in the experiment is, it had been the coach. But now the coach is gone and we're replacing him with a developmental guy. So, and we're not going to see it right away. We might see flashes of it in November. But I'm saying by February of next year, we're going to be able to measure his growth. What did he do in the offseason? Yeah. Was there a change? Is Atkinson having any impact at all? If it runs back next year and it looks exactly like it did the last 2,
now we talk about Kobe Altman.
Now we're talking about his ceiling is cement.
Well,
not glass.
I think we're talking about Kobe Altman too because you tripled down on it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, he is. Yeah, he's the other control in the experiment.
You triple down on your squad. We're going to see. This is the third year you ran it back, so.
Hopefully
last
next year.
Cavs thing, then we'll get super chats. Yes or no, be open for a Morris reunion. Yes, Jay?
100%.
G, yes?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, cool.
He brings something this team desperately needs.
Do y'all got some money?
And with that, we got some super chats. We got 2 of them today, and then we'll start our Olympics conversation. We'll carry it over into overtime. I want to spend a little more time on it because there were some incredible moments from the Olympics.
The 100-meter finals.
Over the weekend.
Crazy.
Yeah, best I've ever seen.
So Halim Youssef, our guy Halim, says, receivers that need to get paid do not get traded for more than a second. Tyreek Hill's really the only exception. They even gave up Cooper because of money at the time. It's unlikely San Francisco gets a second, but I would do it if that's what it costs to get Aiyuk.
I agree with that 1,000%. A first is way out of line. A second is doable.
And M. Bynes says, I'm an old guy, but I always think of Michael Dean Perry when I see Michael Hall. I always thought he'd be a steal. His get-off was that good at Ohio State. Do you guys see a little Michael Dean Perry in Mike Hall?
Michael Dean Perry was bigger.
Michael Dean Perry was more of a.
I believe.
Yeah, but he was quick. He was very quick.
He was very quick.
And Michael Dean Perry is a very underrated player.
I thought he was really good for us.
Like he was very.
He played
very,
in his
very
brother's
all-pro,
shadow,
yeah.
but I think if you really separate the two and you take the hype away from the refrig.
Oh, he's way, but he's 10 times the player.
Finished product.
Yeah.
What the hell did you start with on that? What was your?
The Olympics.
Oh, okay. No, never mind. Yeah. Now I was going to say something, but I'll save it for overtime because that's where we're going to do Olympics, right?
Yeah. We can start the conversation now. Let's talk Olympic basketball. We'll save the track and the gymnastics.
Okay.
Have you guys been following any of the 3-on-3 stuff?
We suck.
How are they getting smashed?
How do we suck?
Both the men's and women's side.
How?
It is a catastrophic failure.
But how does that happen?
They pick
From
regular
the Team
people.
USA basketball.
We couldn't be more dominant. Women have won 58 games in a row in Olympic competition.
Why do
the
they
men
not?
are just as dominant, and then you cut it down to 3-on-3, and we suck that bad?
Who are these guys?
It's Jimmer
Fredette.
It's Canyon Berry, who's the
grandson of Rick
Berry. And frankly, I forget who the third guy is.
It's very forgettable because I can't remember him either. I just remember Barry and Fredette.
Let's stop right there. That's the reason you're getting smoked.
That's the best we could do?
Well, okay, so I did learn that to participate in the Olympic 3-on-3, you have to play in at least I forget the exact number, but a certain number of qualifiers.
So that knocks all of our NBA guys out.
Yeah, but why don't we send in retired NBA guys?
That's what I wondered.
Michael Beasley should be on the court.
That's like the big three.
The
goes
big
on
three.
in America. No, Brad can't play. Get out of here.
Wait, who said that?
Anthony's off all week. It's only Director Steve back here.
But
we have the big three. You got Jamal Crawford. You got all these dudes who just retired from the NBA. Or why don't we send Cooper Flagg and all the best guys in college who could.
Right.
Or
to
high
me,
school
it makes
kids.
no sense.
I don't get it
No
either.
sense.
And I bet you this is the last Olympics this happens.
It's the
In
last
2028, it's in Los Angeles.
We're not
going to have the greatest, most dominant 3-on-3 team
Yes, we
ever.
will.
I'm curious if Team
We will.
USA will take 3 guys off the U.S. select team. Bless you. The team that
They
practices
should.
against them.
Well, LeBron's on the team for starters.
For 3 on. Oh, that's a genius.
Why
idea.
would LeBron not?
Wow.
Why would
That's
LeBron
genius.
not be
Wow.
in the Olympics
Jay,
that are in Los
bad
Angeles?
takes on the show.
Wow.
You've had some great takes
That's
on the show. You've had some
crazy.
horrible takes. That is your greatest take to this.
There it
point.
is, LeBron,
There it is.
and he's the centerpiece. So then now we can work out around him.
LeBron and 2 shooters. He used to be 3 when he played in the NBA.
But LeBron has already said, "I'm not playing unless Bronny's on the team."
Well, there you go. Bronny and
How about just the James family? LeBron, Bryce, and Bronny.
Versus the world.
that'd be wild.
That's
I'd
genius.
watch it.
I'd watch too.
I'd watch.
Hey, Bryce gonna be nasty when he gets to the league.
I
We
think
ain't
No,
gonna
he
have-
is. I
We're
agree.
not gonna have the conversations about Bryce that we be having.
I mean, he's not going to be LeBron nasty, but he's going to be better than
He's
Bronny.
gonna be nasty.
just on height. Just on height
Yeah.
alone.
He got a
He's a
jumper. He got a
3-star
handle.
recruit. Are we sure he's going to be better than Bronny?
late bloomer.
I think he's a late bloomer, and I think he has the size, right? He's bigger than Bronny.
He has the
He's
LeBron.
6'5".
Yeah, see, now that's more like Pops.
If he get 2 more inches and then get that gene where you just start. See, LeBron, people don't understand.
LeBron was 6'7" in as a freshman, wasn't he?
freshman. And then and LeBron has that gene where if he was to lift weights, he'd be huge. LeBron can't even lift weights. He'd have to do rubber bands.
He walks by the weight room and
he gets LeBron will be unstoppable too.
I will see you in overtime. Peace.
Deuce.